So Ford decided to stop producing the sedans, and I thought that was interesting considering like a few years later, the CEO stated that he wanted to build a more interesting car, which were the sedans. He mentioned that he wanted to build an interesting Mustang and a Falcon, and I just look at that like that's just kind of weird because you haven't really done anything with the Mustangs in a very long time, and people have been requesting to have like all-wheel drive and or four-door Mustangs. Haven't got that yet. But technically speaking, it's already been made. There's a four-door Mustang already. That's the Falcon. Or if you really want to get dirty with it, the Fusion. But getting back to the point here, starting at the beginning, the reason why I think the actual sedans are more interesting because they have such a weird kind of duality, starting with the Fiesta and the Focus. They have this compact car quality going on where it's like, okay, cool, it is what it is. And then you find out about the STs and the RS, and then you find out that people are making their little engines do somewhere in the 300s, maybe even 400 horses. And that's without having real back end from the actual car makers. Therefore, if you had back end, lean into the car market, you get more money and people will just be able to snap and play. By the way, the engines for both of those vehicles need to be compatible with not just them, but then the base model of the Fusion so that we could get the same results. Speaking of which, the Fusion has a lot of experimentation going on with it that I really think if they lean more into it and add more type of aftermarket parts, it would have been fun. Because the ones that stand out to me are the stick shift, the hybrid, and then the sport. What I would have done is had a base model that shared the compatibility with the compact ones, and then have the hybrid that's not going to get touched. And then the sport will be in two modes, automatic and manual. And then, of course, make sure you lean into the aftermarket so people can have fun. And the reason I say that specifically for that car is that people wanted the Mustang to have all-wheel drive and or four doors for a very long time. And the funny part about this is that it already had that in the Falcon. But that's in Australia, so you just do it with the Fusion and have a good time doing it and, let it get up there in power. Let it compete with the BMWs and so on, and that would be great for your production. And then getting to the final last car, which is the Taurus. The Taurus is so interesting that for me, it falls into a muscle car line, I think for most people as well. And it should have been competing with the Charger. The only problem is that where the Charger starts to catch its stride and eventually gets to 700, the Taurus stops about midway through that. And really and truly, they could have done more with it, whether it is the six cylinder getting up that high in power or put a Coyote in there and then have a good time. That's it. I would have loved for the Taurus to have gone up that high, even if I can't afford it. The whole entire point here being is that they had interesting cars and they shut it down for greed and stupid other reasons. But for right now, I am going to stop here before I go on a rant. Till next time, I'm out of here.